Good morning. Good morning, freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, and freedom fighters. How y'all doing this fine Friday morning? It is the 13th of September, and we almost halfway through the month already. Time is flying by. But I don't really want to talk about much more than what the title shows. So, um, in the world of boxing, of course, we're in the world of boxing. And Shakur Stevenson had a fight coming up, right? Shakur Stevenson had a fight coming up with Joe Cardina. He was supposed to fight him, I believe, in October or November. And, there were issues between Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum, basically in regards to Eddie Hearn or Bob Arum not wanting to share that fight card with Eddie. So he kind of broke off from that. I believe Arthur Beterbiev, and Bivol are going to be fighting on ESPN Plus, and Shakur Stevenson was going to fight on pay-per-view. And what's funny is the pay-per-view was only going to be about $14, right? $14.99, $15. That is asinine, all right? A $15 pay-per-view, like really? That's what we're doing? We're doing $15 pay-per-views now? You see, Shakur Stevenson fucked up when he didn't fight Devin Haney and take that 25%. He thought he was too big for his britches. He thought he deserved 50% for whatever reason. He was bringing nothing to the table. And so now he's in the position he's in whereupon he's selling $15 pay-per-view fights. He would have been better off just having it on DAZN and not charging for a pay-per-view, right? Because people who have DAZN, they have to pay a monthly subscription. So, there would have been something to come from that. But now the bout's off. Why? Not because, so they say, not because of the low pay-per-view amount and how no one really has any interest in seeing Shakur Stevenson fight Cardina. No, it's because Shakur Stevenson broke his hand while sparring in camp. Yeah, he broke his hand while sparring in camp. And at first, I didn't believe it, right? I was like, man, this is some bullshit. It's just him trying to get out of this fight because he knew it was not going to go nowhere, right? He knew that the fight was going to flop. He knew that no one wanted to see that shit. So he's the one to come up with an excuse to put the fight off. But then they actually showed the sparring where Shakur hurt his hand. And that brings me to the title, right? Now, they showed Shakur, they showed when he broke his hand, right? And it was when he basically threw a hook up top, a right hook up top, and then to the body. And it looked like he might have hit his sparring partner's hip, okay? Now, the hip bone is pretty hard, pretty solid, but the guy also had a guard on, right? He also had the guard that goes around the waist, you know what I'm saying, and with the cup. And so you had padding between his hip bone and your glove pads your hand. And it wasn't really that hard of a shot, right? It was a pretty good shot. It was a pretty good shot to the body. It was masterful, right? Shakur Stevenson is a great boxer, right? He caught him up. He caught his sparring partner up. He was able to give him a double hook, one to the head, one to the body. But then you throw the shot to the body where this guy has on a guard and you have on gloves, probably 12 or 16 ounce gloves, and you manage to break your hand from that. And you've also complained about hand injuries before. You said you hurt your hand during the De Los Santos fight. You said you hurt your hand during the Artem fight. Listen, If you plan to face any level of opponent beyond an Artem or beyond a Cardina, you are going to get destroyed if you cannot punch. If you can't punch, right? Not to say not punch like a puncher, but you're going to have to, show people something. You're going to have to show them that, they can't just run over you. They can't just do what they want. You have to have some steam on your punches enough for them to respect you so that they're not just going to maul you, right? They're not going to maul you. But if you hurting your hand during a sparring match where you didn't throw a shot that hard, I mean, listen, I understand that it happens, right? People hurt their hands doing all kind of shit during boxing training, right? Hitting a heavy bag, fighting and sparring and all that shit, sparring. But, I mean, this is becoming a problem, right? Your hands are more brittle than Floyd Mayweather. You might need to give up boxing, bro. You might need to get into coaching. Coach some people. Coach some up-and-coming fighters. You have the knowledge, you have the experience, and you have some level of respect. I feel like you might be a good coach. You might be a good coach because you're not going to survive on any elite level with such brittle hands. Now, there are ways to strengthen your hands. There are ways to strengthen the ligaments and the bones of your hand and the bones in your body in general. You just have to give them resistance. You have to add resistance. You have to do grip exercises, right? You have to do, you have to punch the heavy bag, maybe without gloves and without wraps on. Now, a lot of people don't think that's a good thing to do, but I've done that. I've done that plenty of times. Not every time I hit the heavy bag, but maybe like 1 or 2 rounds, I'll hit the heavy bag without gloves or a wrap on, just so that I know that my punch placement is good, right? That I'm hitting with these 2 knuckles, and that I'm strengthening my wrist, I'm strengthening my hand, I'm strengthening the ligaments, right? So that when I go hard with the gloves on, I'm not hurting myself. If I go a little bit harder than 50% during the sparring match, I know that I'm not gonna fuck my hand up. It's important to punch things without gloves on and without wraps on, just to build strength in your hands. And like I said, also do grip exercises, right? Do some hanging dead mans or whatever, from a pull-up bar. Just improve your grip. So improving your grip will also strengthen your hand. It'll also build resistance in your hand. These are things you can do. I don't know if Shakur is doing that type of stuff, but he should, right? Also, farmer's walks, farmer carries with some really heavy weight. If you are hurting your hand like this is like the 30,000th time you hurt your hand while trying to perform at your sport. You need to seriously consider how you can improve the strength in your hands. Like I said, you can hit the heavy bag without wraps on, right? You can hit the heavy bag with wraps on and without gloves. Or you can use heavy bag mitts that have very little padding. I use those. When I hit the heavy bag, I use heavy bag mitts. They're not boxing gloves. Heavy bag mitts that are very thin. They have very thin padding in them. It's very thin here. I love those things. Though when I hit the heavy bag, that's what I use. I don't use anything. I don't use 16-ounce gloves. I don't use any weighted gloves. I don't use 4-ounce, 8-ounce, 10-ounce, none of that. I use these heavy bag mitts that are very thin, right? It provides just enough padding. No more padding than you need hitting the heavy bag. But what the key component of that is, when you hit the heavy bag with those things, you have to focus on hitting the bag with these 2 knuckles. It'll help you with that. Those heavy bag mitts will help you get your punch placement down, right? In terms of what you hitting with these 2 knuckles, right? You don't want to hit with these 2. You don't want to hit with the top or, this part right here. You really have to focus on hitting with these two knuckles, no matter what angle you're punching from. So when you're using those heavy bag mitts and they're very thin, you can feel where you're punching. You can feel where you're landing on the heavy bag. And it helps you improve your accuracy, right? Because again, you want to hit with these two knuckles, right? You want to hit with and it also strengthens your hands because you have very little padding, you have very little support. You have just enough, you know? And that allows you to really understand where you're punching, right? Because a lot of people slap, right? They'll hit with everything but these two knuckles, right? But when you use those heavy bag mitts, it really helps you get that down, and then it becomes second nature. You don't even have to concentrate on it anymore, right? You know that you're going to land the punch with those two knuckles when you use those gloves, and even when you don't use them in sparring, you know exactly where you need to place that punch. Now, of course, you don't want to spar with heavy bag mitts, right? That's crazy. You don't want to hurt somebody. But I don't know, Shakur, if you're not doing those things to improve the strength in your hands, then you need to fire your coach because they're not giving you the right tools, right? Everyone who is in combat sports where you have to strike, you should be learning how to strengthen your hands, how to punch without all the extra support. You don't have to punch with all that extra support all the time, right? Now, you'll have certain guys out there, they'll tell you, oh, it's not good because you can't go hard on the heavy bag. You can't go as hard as you want on the heavy bag without gloves and without wraps. But that's not true. That's not true. And you don't necessarily want to go super hard on the heavy bag without gloves and without wraps on, right? I go super hard on the heavy bag when I have my heavy bag mitts on, right? With the very thin padding. Let me show y'all, man. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to show y'all. If you guys are interested in anything in regards to combat sports and striking, I'm going to show you some great heavy bag mitts, not heavy bag gloves, heavy bag mitts that are great for helping you strengthen your hands. I love these things. Hold on. Do I have an Amazon app? I get them on Amazon. They're not cheap, but they're great quality. They're leather. They're great quality. I didn't put those things. You ain't got to break them in because they're already soft, right? So it really helps, right? Not Gmail. What am I doing? What? Hold on. Because I don't understand this shit. I don't understand it. I mean, this guy is literally pillow hands. Literally pillow. You don't have to be pillow fisted, right? You don't. And the strength in your punches and the power in your punches does not come from your hand or your arm anyway, right? You're just strengthening your hands and the muscles around your hand and the ligaments and the bones so that when you do throw powerful punches, you're not hurting your fucking hand, right? When you do throw powerful punches, which come from generating power from the ground through your legs, right? You're using your legs, through your hips, and at the end of the punch, that's where the power comes from. But at the end of the punch, that's where it's important to have strong hands. Because if you throw a powerful punch and you land at the wrong angle and all that shit, your shit's going to bend up and you're going to snap, you're going to break something or sprain your hand. Well, if you have strong hands and you have strong muscles and ligaments and bones in your hands, even if you do torque your hand the wrong way, it might hurt slightly, but then you good. Like, that's what happens with me. So if I hit the heavy bag and I slip on the edge and the heavy bag is real slick with my sweat or whatever, and I hit it at the wrong angle, I might bend my hand, and it hurts for a hot second, and that's it. And I'm good to go. I never hurt my hand. Hold on. Let me see, heavy bag mitt. And these things are really good. Yes, these things right here. Right? Let me show y'all. These are what I use. Not this particular brand, but this is what I use. Come on now. Why is this thing acting retarded? Hold on, y'all. These. This is stupid. They look like that. These are heavy bag mitts. We got big fights coming up on the weekend. I ain't spent $800 on the blick not to use it, Unc. About to put the second amendment to use. What you talking about, man? Then that was made for people like me that don't fight in real life. Okay. Why fight? Work smarter, not harder. You finna be throwing punches. I'm finna be. Well, guess what? Guess what, my G? Guess what? Guess what? I don't just punch. I don't just punch. I don't know why y'all. You got it twisted. You got it twisted, homie. I don't just punch. I don't just punch. Understand what I'm talking about? I don't just punch. I'm proficient with the hands and with the finger. You understand what I'm talking about? I'm proficient. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I got you. But I'm just saying, it's good to be proficient in both, because what if you're in some shit, you're in a building or something like that, and some shit's going down, and somehow you can't use your firearm. Close quarters, you know what I'm saying? You don't have access to your gun, or your gun's not going to do you any good. You run out of ammunition. You don't have time to reload because somebody's rushing you. You got to be able to handle that. Yeah, exactly. I'd rather be judged by 12 as well. So that's all I'm saying, y'all. I think Shakur definitely needs to. Yeah, those were MKs. I don't have MKs. I have a different brand. I don't have the MKs. I have a different brand. Let me see. Let me see if I can find which ones. I had to go to my Amazon account to show y'all. And I don't have the Amazon app on my work phone, so I can't show you guys. Heavy bag mitts are great. That's the only thing I hit. I have TK, not MK, but TK. I have these. These are what I have. You know what I'm saying? Look how it fits. Look how it fits on your hand. You can practically see this guy's knuckles, and it provides just the right amount of padding. Right? Look how thin they are. These are great. I love these things. You can wear them with or without wraps. So I have 4 pair. I have 2 down here in South Carolina and got 2 in Georgia. One I wear with wraps and one I wear without. Because once you wear them with wraps, it kind of forms around the wraps. So when you take the wraps off and you put the ones that you usually wear wraps with, it feels kind of weird. So I got a pair that I don't wear wraps with. I hear you. Why do people not understand you have to account for where there will be situations? I don't know. I that's why I train in all that shit. You know. Just give me a second, y'all. I'll be right back. I gotta go in here and get some stuff from the market. You know. Just hang out for a minute. My bad, y'all. Rude as a motherfucker, ain't I? Yeah, Newport's in the 40 ounce. No. This right here. I love this stuff. Goat Daddy's Farm honeycomb goat cheese. It has actual pieces of honeycomb in here. This shit is great. Got me some goat milk, some raw goat milk, y'all. I love that shit. I drink that shit every day. Nothing like some good old raw goat's milk. It's real easy on the stomach. You know what I'm saying? If you have like, if you can't handle cow milk, which I can, goat milk is good. I just like goat milk because, you know, it's really good. It's really, I love it. Goat milk is great. Goat milk is great. But so strengthening your hands, y'all, like not just your hands, your feet, your knees, your spine, right? Strengthening your spine and the muscles around your spine, your neck, and all that type of shit. These things are important to make you equipped, prepared fighting machine, right? You don't want to just use gloves, right? You don't want to use padding for your knees every time you use the. I never use padding on my knees when I use a heavy bag. I never use padding on my elbows when I do elbows and all that type of shit. A good way to strengthen your feet is to do jump roping, jump rope, rucking, rucking with some good amount of weight. That'll strengthen your feet, your ankles. Putting resistance on your muscles and your bones, strengthen your bones and your muscles, right? Like no one really talks about how you can strengthen your bones. You can, especially your shins, right? If you do a lot of kicks, like in Muay Thai, you kick with your shins, right? Unlike some other combat sports, they have you kicking with your feet and all that stuff, which is good too for pinpoint accuracy. But for that power, if you want to get the power in your kick and you really want to just crush somebody with a kick, you got to have strong shins, right? And basically, when you strengthen your shins, you're basically you're creating small fractures in your shin, and they're being healed over by stronger bone calcium, because it doesn't want to get hurt again. Your anatomy, it's great how your biology works, right? When your body experiences trauma, when it heals from that trauma, it understands that I need to put a little more sauce on this. When it heals, I'm gonna put a little more sauce on it so that if it happens again, I don't really have to worry about it. You would have to do a lot more just to create more damage or to damage that area again. Scar tissue is usually stronger than the original tissue, right? That's how your body works. It's amazing how the body works. And what's even more amazing is that you can do things to disrupt how your body heals and the things that you eat, right? So what is Shakur doing, or what is he not doing that is causing his hands to be so brittle? He's a young man. He obviously has calcium issues or bone density issues. You can improve your bone density by doing a lot of different things, by eating bioavailable calcium, right? Not calcium pills, but whole foods that has calcium in it, right? Whole foods that has calcium in it, like raw milk, bone broth, collagen and whatnot, bone marrow, right? Bone marrow from animals. there's nothing like animal nutrition, right? There's nothing like nutrition from animal food, animal meat, right? Shout out to Jay with Open Eyes, but he was talking about this guy yesterday. I believe, was that a live stream, Jay? You were talking about that vegan dude that was spewing all this nonsense about meat eaters and what meat does in your body. So what they have discovered about beef and other ruminant animals, other ruminant animal meat has, and ruminant animals are like cows, lamb, deer, red meat, basically. Red meat from animals like cows, buffalo, and whatnot, lamb. What they have discovered is that beef has thousands and thousands of nutrients that are beneficial to the human body. And a lot of them, they don't even know what they do yet. But what they do know is that when you eat beef, your body absorbs all of it. Your body absorbs all of it. There's barely any leftover meat for your body to process once it gets into the small intestine, right? And the small intestine has no bacteria, just so y'all know. The small intestine has no bacteria, so the food that is broken down in your intestines are things that are going to get broken down by enzymes that your body immediately takes up. The meat gets broken down in your stomach acid. It gets broken down in your stomach acid, then it enters, and then like the fat from the animal gets broken down by the bile in your gallbladder and your liver, and it goes into your small intestines and then gets absorbed. But things that aren't meat, like plant matter, plant food, goes into your large intestine to get broken down by the bacteria and all that shit that's in your large intestine. And then it goes out through your colon. So most of the waste that you are going to have coming out through shit is going to be non-meat products. Oh, it's a regular video? That's what's up. I don't have the patience to go live because there's always a mountain of trolls because accounts I had to get through to read comments. It's like I'm playing a video game. I understand. Dead Mike says he only grass-fed beef. So I don't know. Shakur might benefit from, some bone broth. He might eat some bone broth, right? Some bone marrow. Eat a lot of beef. Do hand strengthening exercises, right? Do walking exercises, right? And what I mean by walking exercises is basically like a farmer's carry, right? Where you're holding heavy weight in your hands. And you're not necessarily doing reps with them, but you're walking and you're putting a lot of pressure on your hands to prevent from dropping that weight. And that improves the strength in your hands. Hit the heavy bag without wraps. Hit the heavy bag without gloves. Get some heavy bag mitts. Start doing that. Make sure your placement when you land a punch is good to go. Young Irv, the cut man was good. Salute, salute, salute. Dev Layer says that's why the World Economic Forum wants us to eat bugs. Exactly. They don't want us strong. They want us weak. They want us to get poor nutrition from food that we should not be consuming. You know how they want you to eat crickets and shit? Do you know how many harmful how much harmful bacteria is in that cricket? You have to fry the cricket. And once you fry the cricket, all that so-called protein you're getting from it is not going to be bioavailable. It's going to be too goddamn fried. That's why ruminant animal meat, you could practically eat that raw. I remember what I was telling my mother. She visited a couple weeks ago. And how sometimes you tell your parents some shit you did when you was a kid that they never knew about? I told her about how she would have ground beef in the refrigerator. She would have ground beef in the refrigerator because she was about to make some spaghetti or meatloaf or whatever. I would go in there and I would get little fingerfuls, because you don't want to take too much. You don't want them to notice. I would get fingerfuls of raw ground beef, and I would eat it. Just raw. Just get some raw ground beef out of there. I take it, and and I would eat it. I never got sick. I never got sick from eating raw ground beef in my mama's refrigerator. Now the raw ground beef from yesteryear, a little more trustworthy than the ground beef you get now. You really got to search for ground beef that doesn't have all the bullshit in it. But even the ground beef with the bullshit in it, it's going to affect the quality and the freshness of the meat. It might not taste as beefy, but it's not, you can still essentially eat it practically raw. I would cook that a little bit more. As a matter of fact, even if you cook it too much, the chemicals could have a little, it might be a chemical reaction that could cause it to be bad, right? So, but yeah, I used to eat raw ground beef out the refrigerator. Somebody ate my dog this morning. Okay, the Kingmaker, you got it, buddy. That's why the food pyramid was the way it is. Whatever guarantees the biggest profit margin. Exactly. And, regular people can grow cows. You know what I'm saying? They don't, and they don't want that. There's this guy. I think it's, what is it? He's basically a rancher out of Texas, and he's talking about how there was all these fires, like millions of acres of fires on ranch land. And for whatever reason, the fire department was coming through and they were dozing the land that was still intact, right? So they're trying to create problems for ranchers that raise cattle for people to eat. They're really trying to create problems for them. Can't nowadays is the reason why we can't nowadays is really just because the animals are unhealthy from the polluted unnatural feed. Exactly. But that's why I get my meat from, trusted ranchers. And I know that I can eat me a rare steak. I can eat me a rare steak. I can eat me a rare hamburger, you know what I'm saying, without any issues. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta get back to work. But much love, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, and we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace. And look, Shakur, do some hand strengthening exercises. If you're trying to come back to boxing, once your hand heals, you need to focus on strengthening those hands. Strengthen those hands and quit fucking around and doing bullshit, right? Those gloves are not always your friend. You need to hit the heavy bag with and without gloves. You need to figure out where to punch and how to punch, because clearly you don't know how to punch. If you keep breaking your fucking hand like that, you don't know how to punch because you're so used to wrapping your hands up real tight. It's unnatural. And you're putting gloves on. It's unnatural, right? You're not going to strengthen anything. So hit the heavy bag without gloves, or even, like I said, use those heavy bag mitts. Those are practically like not having gloves on. It gives you some protection to where the reason I wear them is not because of the padding, but because I get tired of scraping my knuckles up and cutting them open on that heavy bag. And then it's just annoying as shit when you get cuts on your knuckles. It's a pain in the ass dealing with that. So I haven't had issues since I started using those mitts. But anyway, much love, like, share, subscribe, and we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace.